Okay, we are live. Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Thank you for joining me. I am Codi Kag, and I have a very special guest, somebody that I have lately enjoyed talking politics with, especially our Texas politics. I have Colonel Raul Reyes here with me. How are you doing, Raul?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me. We just had an election, and the last time we talked before the election, we did some predictions, and looks like we were about 99.99% correct. What do you think?
I think we were. I think we pretty much hit it on the nail when it comes to South Texas. I know that um, I am not a big Abbott fan, and I'm certainly not a Beto fan. But we predicted that Abbott was going to win.
Yeah, absolutely. When you throw up the most antagonistic, and I don't know what the Democrats were thinking, and I'm looking at this from a strategy perspective. So for everybody who starts to video this and go, oh, Reyes is gone liberal. No, we're looking at it from what happened, and we said this before, right? That
Mhm.
Beto has got to be the most antagonistic person you can put up as a Democrat candidate against Abbott. So if you're somebody that doesn't like Abbott already, but you hate or dislike Beto worse, then you're in this conundrum. And I think this is why we saw a very, very low voter turnout, something like 9 million. Typically, for anybody
Mhm.
who's tracking these things, it's 10 to 11 million people out of the 17 million that are registered out of 33 million people in Texas. And we were down somewhere around 9 million. And I think it's just a disinterested candidate, or people are disinterested in candidates, and many like yourself, Cody, that just you're like, I'm going to go for one person. I saw that here in CD23. A lot of people were looking at Frank Lopez. If you go up north, a lot of folks were looking at different candidates. It's very local politics. And so yeah, Abbott, again, he won, and now let's get on to holding him accountable, because a lot of people were biting their tongues and, well, you're going to cause Republicans to lose and this and that. I don't think so. Listen, and we're going to bring this into the fold because, hello, we just happen to be Hispanic, right? And and I think culturally we just can't really hold our tongues. You know what I mean? We're not going to go around, como dicen, pelos en la lengua or something like that.
Sí, no vamos a andar con pelos en la luenga. We're gonna
Yeah,
call
so
it
you're
out
gonna
the
get a
way
little
we see it.
you're gonna get a little Spanglish with Cody and I here. By the way, we need to start the Spanish version of this really soon, I think.
Yes, I
So
think we need to. I'm
anyway,
working on
so
Spanish.
you saw what happened with Myra, Monica, and Cassie. What do you think? I mean, that's
Well, we went in. We spoke about the special election. Let's go from south up north. We went into the special election. Myra Flores had already started campaigning on her own campaign before the special election.
yeah,
She went against Dan Sanchez. Dan Sanchez was pretty unknown. The Democrat Party didn't spend much money. They didn't go after that special election.
right,
She barely won that special election. It wasn't this huge win, knowing that she had already had this campaign trail going on. You would have expected more votes for her, and
right.
that was prior to the redistricting. So now they're saying, "Oh, my district was redone, and that's why I lost." That wasn't the reason, because she barely won before the redistricting.
Yeah, and it
She,
was it was like 50.6 or 7%. And let me just say that
Mhm.
50.7% to, and no disrespect to people. I mean, it's a no-name Democrat, I think, unless they really
Mhm.
knew him down there. But he wasn't Gonzalez or Cuellar or anybody like that. So she should have, if we were looking at a red wave, everybody's like, oh, the Hispanic red wave. Really, there really wasn't one. And you and I, we called it, right? Said, look,
Yes.
Monica's an
Mhm.
iffy, but Myra's gonna lose, and so is Cassie. And by the
Yes.
way, I love Ted Cruz. I think Cassie was a fantastic candidate, but the
Out
chips
of
were
the
stacked against
three,
them.
Cassie was the more qualified. She was more
Yeah.
she is more qualified than
And
Monica
she's
and more
probably the
qualified than
most
Myra
conservative,
Flores.
probably the most
Mhm.
conservative, you would say?
Yes, and she's one that has worked in, with Ted Cruz,
Yeah.
and she reached out to the Democrats and the Republicans while she was working with Ted Cruz. And she knows the area. So she, to me, was the one that should have won and was more qualified of all three of them. But
Well,
going back, yeah, to Myra Flores, this last election on election day, she didn't lose by a little margin. It was what, 53% to 44%.
yeah, that's out there. And what do you think is the reason? I mean, I've got we sort of talked about this before. What were you seeing down there? Why did people just not vote for Myra? I mean, I guess it didn't help because people said, well, they redistricted and it was plus 17 Biden. But if it was a red wave and Hispanics were leading the way, what
That
happened,
shouldn't
right?
matter. Yeah, that shouldn't have mattered. The thing is that she was in office, she was the incumbent, and yes, she didn't have a long term there, but during her time there, she could have caused more of a sound, more of a wave if she would have been dealing with the issues
Yeah,
instead of playing political, what is it, identity politics. And
yeah.
that is one thing that the GOP is doing right now, and it's missing. I have no interest in voting for somebody just because they're Hispanic. I want to vote for somebody that has the conservative values, is there with a plan. They have an agenda on what to do. It's not going in just because because I'm a Latina, I'm a Hispanic. That's not why she should have been running this her reelection, and a lot of it focused on that. She overdid the taco thing. um that was played out
Well,
so
and then
many
they all
times.
showed up with the pistolas and all that other stuff, right?
The Reina del
Total,
Sur. And
yeah.
that to me is like you're welcoming the narcotics, the cartel, that because that's what it is, the La Reina del Sur.
Mhm.
And it might have been for, that was their marketing thing, but it failed. I mean, knowing how much money she had behind her, because she outspent
Yeah,
Vicente.
so I think, look, what people don't understand about just local, well, let me just say this, South Texas and the Democrats down there is they were never going to give up a guy like Gonzalez with all his
Mhm.
connections because all of a sudden, there's this red wave. See, down, and this really proves that politics is local because down there, Hispanics, and we're going to go there for a second, right? I think they look at their local elected leaders, and as long as they produce, as long as they get things done, they don't even connect Gonzalez with Nancy Pelosi. Henry Cuellar, he's pro-life, but
Mhm.
he's part of a Democrat party system that really kills babies all the way to the ninth month. But they don't. And by the way, this is a highly Christian, mostly Catholic region. Am I right? So how do you? People don't understand how there is such a disconnect with that, and the answer is local politics aren't connected to DC. They could care less about Nancy Pelosi as long as
Mhm.
Gonzalez and Cuellar and all of them produce. Now, Monica won. I mean, I'm glad
Well,
about that. But what do
mhm.
you think happened there?
Well, Monica's district was redistricted. It was
Yeah,
turned red. It was turning her favor. But if you look at the numbers, she lost the valley. Monica lost the valley. Abbott lost the valley. Myra Flores, well, she lost the valley, but they did not win South Texas. They won the upper counties that are considered South Texas. But when it comes to my region, the Rio Grande Valley,
right.
they lost. Monica lost by big, I think it was a big margin against Michelle Vallejo, and Michelle Vallejo again was an unknown name. She's a socialist. I did vote. I said I wasn't going to vote, but I voted for the Libertarian. I didn't vote for Monica.
Listen, you know how many people told me, conservatives that I know said, look, I went with the better person, and that person in some races was the Democrat. And
Mhm.
because they like what you were saying earlier, uh, you couldn't vote for Abbott, and a lot
Mhm.
of people couldn't either. Of course, now he won, okay, fine, but Beto was so bad. I mean,
Yeah.
Nobody wants Beto. And I don't know. I'm always very suspicious, Cody, that the Democrat Party ran somebody so bombastic and just horrible like a guy like Beto. And when there's a lot, now again, I'm speaking strategic from a strategy perspective, because then they'll start to paint me liberal. And what I'm saying is, if I was a consultant, I would have said, look, we got to run a slick looking kind of Clinton, maybe Hispanic dude
Mm-hmm.
that is going to be really professional and going to talk conservative values despite being a Democrat. By the way, that's happened across the nation in other places. And for not, I mean, they ran 3 times, he lost. It's a done deal. Abbott's the guy. And but I think, Myra, remember there, I showed that video the last time you and I were on here. She voted for amnesty and some visas for some of the DACA kids, or
Mm-hmm.
adults now, right? And how do you reconcile that? And you said earlier, people don't vote for you. None of us are interested in voting in your identity. I mean, we're
Mm-hmm.
interested in voting in what you're going to do. And I think this is why Trump was so successful in South Texas, because they do want a fighter. And I guess someone like Bianca would say they want a luchador. And
Yeah.
anyway, just, yeah, my 2 cents on that. I don't know, where do we go from here, I guess now.
And I wanted to touch back on that amnesty thing because um, prior to the election, even Monica has already come out to say that we need to solve this DACA. We need to, they're here by no fault of their own. So she's already pro DACA and pro
Yeah,
amnesty. And this is the Republican Party. That is not what we stand for. We stand for legal immigration.
yeah.
They were here for no fault of their own, but they're adults. They have had ample time to fix their situation, and they have not. They're waiting for somebody else to do it for them. And for a Republican congresswoman, because that's what she is now, well, congresswoman elect, to come out and say, she's pro amnesty and pro DACA, that is to me just like I just threw away my vote. There was another, and going back to that race,
Yeah.
in the primaries for the Democrat Party, you had Michelle Vallejo and Ruben Ramirez who went on a runoff. If Ruben Ramirez would have been the candidate for the Democrats, they would have had a better chance because he was more
because because he was more moderate or conservative, or
Yes, he's more conservative. He was a veteran. He was a teacher who turned into an attorney and then became a veteran. He went to go fight, and after I guess becoming a teacher, something like that. But
yeah,
he was a moderate. He's somewhat of a one of those old conservative Democrats,
yeah.
and his whole story was appealing. When you had somebody like Michelle Vallejo that is too far to the left, socialist running in a new redistrict, red, it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to
Well,
happen.
I think so the red wave, in my opinion, did not materialize. And I think what's happening is, because you see, people now want Kevin McCarthy gone. They want Mitch McConnell gone. Ronna, is it Rhonda or Ronna, Romney McDaniel,
Mhm.
right? I put the quotes on the Romney piece, but they want her gone. And I put that up there on a post, and somebody said, hey, that's McD, McC, and McC. Is that a coincidence? I'm like, I don't know, but if it rings, let's get them all out of there. Because so it looks like we're not going to get the Senate back, because Mitch McConnell went and favored Lisa Murkowski up in
Alaska.
Alaska. And
Hmm.
then, of course, Kevin McCarthy, I mean, he's been putting out rhinos, like in our case down here, Tony Gonzalez. And of course, I would say that Myra, who I liked everything I saw when I first saw her, but then she started talking like the rhinos.
Hmm.
And now Cassie was holding strong, and this is probably why. I don't know. Did she have Kevin McCarthy's support as
Yeah.
well? Okay, they jumped in there to help at the end. Look, and
Hmm.
I think that's the problem, really, because they want to attribute Hispanics to some kind of, they want amnesty, but they really have hijacked the message. Why would we, like I'm a first generation, my father's from Mexico. I'm a first generation born here, American, right? And from a Mexican now citizen person, right? Or man, my dad. And what happens is, I went on to retire as a lieutenant colonel. Hard work. Nobody gave us anything. We had to go to school, pay for it, the
Mhm.
whole 9 yards, and join the Air Force. And we've got our own business. I'm still a middle class kind of guy, but I've done okay. I've done more than well. Why would I want to provide amnesty to 10 million people who are going to compete for jobs, not just for me, but with my kids and my future generations here? And besides, that's not how this works. This is America. You're supposed to come through here legally. And that doesn't seem to, I think the elitist Republican elected officials like your McCarthy's and your they don't really care. And I think the Hispanic, let me go there for a second. The red wave, and if we were to add Hispanic red wave in South Texas, just did not happen. And I think it goes to what we already know from 2016 and 2020. Hispanics aren't going to vote for you because you're Hispanic. They're going to
Mhm.
vote for you because, like Trump, you said you were, and I'm using it as an example. There's plenty of other people out there that are doing fantastic and they keep getting reelected. So we don't really play the identity politics. The only reason we're bringing it up here is because we have to have this dialogue and this conversation. Everybody else, and when I had Bianca Gracia on my show, we threw around some people like the Latinos conservatives of Texas, and these are all made up groups that really exist, but they're there for one reason, and that's for amnesty, and it's all part of the Bush, Karl Rove piece of this world. And I think Democrats woke up and said, okay, these are not Kennedy Democrats anymore. They're not conservative Democrats. But today, if we look back at last Tuesday, I think Republicans like me are looking and saying, this isn't the Republican Party that I want to be a part of. We're going to have to throw away the old, and that goes Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy. And let me
Mhm.
say something. If the Republican Party does not rid itself of people that are going against America First candidates, because they're bashing Trump now, right? It's now Trump
Yes.
versus DeSantis. Let me tell everyone, I tell that's not the problem. They want to throw us off from the one thing that we need to fix, and that's get rid of McCarthy, McConnell, and Ronna McDaniel because they blew it. I mean, Cody, we had the best opportunity, don't you think? If we were going to
Yeah.
win it, this was going to be it, right?
Yeah, the thing is that they're backing up their candidates. They're pouring in money, and people like the America First candidates, like Frank Lopez, is a great example.
Yeah,
We don't have a chance. Bianca, when she ran for Senate, and Bianca came really close, but and then Laura Loomer, but the Republican Party should have fixed the election integrity, which they didn't. That's why
right.
we're having problems in Arizona.
By the way,
And
that's
then
an
we have
insult.
to
I mean,
fix it.
that's like a total insult. They put this bill together and touted it as voter integrity, and then they
Mhm,
watered it down. There's only a couple of states I think have really put out a voter integrity bill out there and turned it into a law, and Florida was one of them. And that's why I think Florida had such great success, because they do away from all this curbside and mail-in ballots and all this other just
mhm.
craziness that happened because of COVID. But anyway, you were saying, I'm sorry. Yeah, I
Yeah, no,
think,
no, go ahead. Yeah, no, but I mean, I believe the same thing as you do. I mean, the Republican Party has to change. I stepped down from the Republican women for many reasons. One of them is I refuse to work with the Hidalgo County GOP.
yeah,
It's just trash. It's just horrible. I do not. I'm more of an independent. I'm gonna vote for the candidate that's gonna do for my community, for my state, and for my country. That's
yeah,
going to be America first. And we need to support those type of candidates in order for the GOP to realize that, and not only the GOP but the Democrats, this unit party that they have created. We
mhm,
need to start rejecting the candidates that they try to shove down to us,
right,
because you look at like Myra Flores. They prompt her up and they made her look like the future of the GOP when she doesn't stand for really a lot of conservative issues. She has never voted Republican, a lot. I mean, she just started voting Republican with
yeah.
Trump. Before that, she's always voted Democrat. The same thing with Monica de la Cruz. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
She's always voted Democrat. This is
Well,
a
and I think people would say, well, this is the people are coming over to from the Democrat Party. And I have
Mhm.
to tell you, look, nobody really just comes over. I
No.
think the Democrat Party now, the Socialist Communist Democrat Party, left a lot of conservative Texans behind, and they
Hmm.
voted either Republican or Democrat. And in South Texas, it's been Democrat at the local level. But Trump proved that you can win a Democrat. The Democrat can win a congressional seat. Remember, I said Gonzalez, and then of course Cuellar and Filemon Vela.
Hmm.
They all kept their seats, even though Trump won a lot of those counties over and the popular
Yes.
vote down there.
And we've talked about that. We've
Yeah,
talked about how
right.
people
And
voted
so
for
so
Trump. Hmm.
but I think what people aren't understanding is the because I put out an article that said the gaslighting of the Hispanic vote, because it's all, oh, the Hispanics are coming over, all the Hispanic, and you've got Abbott running down south to do all kinds of stuff. I don't know if you're able to put that map up or not. If you can't, that's fine. But um, there's a map out there that really sort of shows what the strategy behind Abbott was. And but if we could show, that'd be great. But I would say that I think the reason Abbott was down south was that they took the Hispanic wave, and I'm doing this with my fingers for anybody who's listening right now and can't see me. It's a quote unquote the Hispanic red wave that started with Trump, because nobody could believe that Trump would win South Texas, you see, because it's largely Hispanic. And so if he's out of the picture and you want to win the governor's race, you run down south and you ensure that Beto doesn't win, the Democrat vote down there. And one of the maps that we have, if we can show it, if not, that's okay, is you'll see that down in South Texas, in large numbers, 10% or better, Beto got less votes. And there's only one county where Beto got it was plus from the 2018 run that he did before against Ted Cruz, because everything's measured up against Ted Cruz and Beto back in 2018, because Beto came really close to beating Ted Cruz. I mean, within 3%, I think. So you take that data and you apply it to the governor's race, and you realize you have one problem, or one place where Beto could just really cream you, and that is in South Texas. So guess what? There runs Abbott, and everybody's going down south. Even I forget her name, Don Buckingham. Everybody's down south, courting the Hispanic vote, and the result is, yeah, everybody won their race except the congressional seats down there. And I don't know. You probably know better than I do, but I would suspect a lot of Democrats really won or kept their seats down in South Texas. Is that correct?
Um, I'm sorry, from the Democrats,
Yeah, down in
they
place.
the
Yeah,
only I mean the only one that did win a seat is Aaron Pena, the father of the GOP chairwoman, and I wonder why. But everybody else lost a lot. I mean, the DA, it was going to be a new race because the incumbent stepped down, but the Democrat won like from 60 to 30 some percent. Everybody else, the representatives also won. They stayed with their seats. Chuy
yeah.
Hinojosa stayed in, Bobby Guerra, and they beat the Republicans. I don't know if you can
Well,
see it. You can't see it, right?
no, I can't see it, but that's
Mhm.
okay. If we can't show it, that's all good. What I would say is, and again, this goes to, there's a lot of pundits out there, people talking politics, on these big shows, and oh, Hispanics, and you can hear it on Fox,
Mhm.
and and now they've got sort of this mud on their face, because really, folks like Cody and myself, Frank Lopez, who's running like crazy in CD23, Bianca Gracia, Rolando Rodriguez, all these different people down there that nobody really talks about. They're the real activists down into the grassroots, and not just to push Hispanics to vote, but really to push anybody who's on the Democrat side to come over to the Republican side. But it's a kind of a hard sell, right, Cody? Because how do we look at people and go, look, let's go vote for Tony Gonzalez, who is already pledged to vote for Kevin McCarthy, who
Mhm.
hates Trump or anything MAGA first, or even look, Wesley Hunt down in Houston. He just he just became a newly elected congressman. The first thing he does is he says, we're going to secure the border, and we've got to we've got to reelect Kevin McCarthy to the speakership. Crash and burn. I mean, on Twitter they ate him up. But this goes to, I guess, if they give you the money, you have to
Yes.
do what
And
they say, right?
I'm very interested. I don't think Monica has come out to say anything. I haven't seen anything on her Twitter. That's the only thing I can see sometimes. But she was Kevin McCarthy endorsed. She was Dan Crenshaw endorsed. She was Tony Gonzalez endorsed. So she accepted all those endorsements, probably accepted those endorsements. So I want to know where she's going to vote. And that was
Well,
something
look, and
that
if all those folks that are listening to this show tonight, we're advocating, go meet with your congressman, especially the Republican congressman, and Monica, ask her where is she at, because we intend to ask publicly Tony Gonzalez, and now we're going to find out before December, I guess. I guess before January the 10th or whenever they vote on this, we're going to find out
Mhm.
anyway. But let me tell you something, that sets it up for 2024, because it looks like Donald Trump is going to come back. Let me tell you something, for people who think Donald Trump is not going to come back. Tuesday, we're about to find out, I think, Cody,
Mhm.
right? And
He
I
said
think,
Tuesday.
yeah. And look, I'm not going to kick DeSantis around, because I think he's done really well. I like the way he's poised. I think everything about him is terrific. I am concerned that he's sort of getting in bed with the Karl Roves of this world and some of the rhinos.
Bushes.
Yeah, the Bushes are in there. Jeb Bush is looking like, he's sort of massaging DeSantis. I got to tell you, if he goes up against Trump, he's going to get ate up. And
Mhm.
I don't mean to I'm not putting DeSantis down. What I'm saying is, Trump ate through little Marco, Lion Ted. I mean, and I'm just using the
Mhm.
words he used, but we had some of the toughest people, like Scott Walker out of what is that, Wisconsin? Remember them? He was a great governor, and he got chewed up. He was out like in the second debate. He was a goner because he couldn't get over 3%.
With
People want a fighter, and
Ted
I know
Cruz was
DeSantis.
somebody tough. Hmm.
Oh
Ted
yeah,
Cruz
yeah.
was somebody tough that he beat. I was a Ted Cruz person when it all
Oh, I know.
started.
I was too. I was like, look,
It
Ted Cruz
was,
is my guy. And by the way, I still very much like Ted Cruz. He's, I don't know if he's sort of just kind of kicking back a
he,
little bit, but he helped Cassie and some other
mhm.
folks. Something's going on there. I mean, we're always just hoping, but he's about as conservative as you can get. But you're right. I was a Ted Cruz. I was going to go up to, what's the first state they go up to? Is that, anyway, Iowa. I was going to go to
Mhm.
Iowa to block walk and help however I had just retired out of the Air Force, and I volunteered out of San Antonio to go to Iowa. And anyway, I was able to help some, but man, Trump just crushed them. I mean, he crushed everybody. So the point being here is that, if you like DeSantis, great. We're not putting him down, but I think if Trump comes back, there's 75 million people that came out to vote. It's a historical number. It's not insignificant. And Trump is going to come back, and he's going to be the guy. And they're doing everything, Cody, to
Yeah.
stop that. They're trying to do everything to stop that from happening.
And it's not only the establishment is doing a lot to stop them, the Republican
Yeah,
establishment.
the rhinos,
And
yeah.
yes, and I like DeSantis, and I even thought at one point, DeSantis for president. But when I start seeing more of what's coming out, like you said, the Bushes and things in the background, how they're meeting with him, and I'm not saying that he is falling straight to that, but from if Trump decides to run, which it more than likely it seems that he is,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be pro Trump. I am not gonna I don't think I can support anybody else but him at this point, because one, the election was taken from him. He needs that election, and he was the one that brought up this country to where it was, to get respected again. The economy, the deal making that he made. There was no new wars under Trump. No new wars. Everybody said he was going to start World War III. And what happened? I
Yeah.
mean, it's like,
Yeah,
no.
looks like Biden's the guy that's going
Mhm.
to actually make that happen. But let me tell you, I think the biggest thing for what Trump has done is he's awakened the masses, because
Yeah.
let me tell you what happened. What most people don't know is 9 million people. You know who didn't really show up, because we're talking Hispanic red wave didn't materialize. Well, you and I knew that wasn't going to happen with the
Mhm.
candidates down there. I mean, everybody else is just looking at us going, you guys are crazy. I mean, they're all going to come, and no, and we fizzed out. And a lot of it has to do with Kevin McCarthy, Mitch McConnell, but Trump awakens everybody. And I think the 1 million or 2 million that did not show up, and the numbers I think reflect that, but the white base of the Republican Party sat it out as well. And
Hmm.
because so it's just not Hispanics. I mean, it's all Texans that are conservatives. Are I had friends that just literally said, I'm not going to go vote. I said, look, if you're in CD 23, go vote for Frank. Go vote for somebody, and
Hmm.
or you're in any district, pick one and go vote. Well, I'm going to leave everything else blank because I don't like any of these people. Both Democrats and Republicans are terrible. They suck. Blah blah blah, and they went on and on. I'm always encouraging folks to vote. I'm glad you did too, because you said I'm not voting for anybody, and but there are candidates out there worth driving, and I'm glad you did that. I'm glad a lot of people did that, but 9 million people it's a big tell, don't you think? There's people
Yeah.
just sat this one out, I guess.
Yeah, and I had a lot of calls. I had a lot of people. It's like they were already so turned off by the whole candidates, the money, the advertisement, everything that was going on, that a lot of people didn't come out and vote. If I was talking to Bianca the other day, and one of our locations here that's called the Annex in Edinburgh,
Yeah,
they had, I think they said they have 4,000 2 3 days prior to early voting ending. 4,000 votes. That was nothing. When we had the mayoral runoff election, the mayor of Edinburgh,
yeah.
there was over 9,000 people coming out to vote in a city election. For that, this midterms, we had Congress, we had the DA, we had judges, we had school board, and they couldn't. They had 4,000 in the
Yeah.
early votes. That was horrible. That's
Well,
horrible. They
I,
weren't bringing out the votes. People
and
were
I
so turned
think
off.
I think the ladies down in the South were, God, anybody who runs the campaign, and I can tell you this from
It's hard.
experience. I always say, God bless you for throwing yourself out. So I'm not disparaging them or anything, but from a
Mhm.
political perspective, I think they were, you know, Bianca and I had this discussion. I think you and I did too, but they fundraised on you know, these three individuals running,
Mhm.
Hispanic females, and they made a lot of money for the Republican Party and for the Democrat
For
Party.
average. Uh-huh.
And they, two of them lost. Monica, I hope, will go on and do what Monica should do. I think is completely just do a 180, vote against Kevin McCarthy, and I guarantee you she would be in that office for a long time, because her congressional district, her constituents will see that she is there on her own for them to do the right thing for Christian conservative values. Because let me tell you something, the reason I think we lost across the nation is there's a very woke, anti Christian, anti American,
Mhm.
anti-conservative, and anti-constitutional feel out there. So when Republicans don't go out there and defend that, and for the longest time, that most consultants would look at you, Cody, and they would say, "Don't talk about abortion. Don't talk about these things, and just you're gonna reduce the deficit." And that's what Kevin McCarthy was doing. I could not believe it. He was saying, "We are going to reform entitlements." And for anybody who's listening and trying to learn some of these things, entitlements are Social Security, Medicare, and all that. In other words, they were looking at old people and go, "We're going to reform entitlements," which sounds a lot like we're going to get rid of Social Security or reduce that spending. You see, uh, all the while the borders open and we have wokeism across the place. None of them had, I didn't see or hear a Republican platform with one overarching message. The only one I think they ran on was Democrats are bad, vote for us.
Mhm.
That's all I could hear, really, and that's not enough. People aren't going to give up like Gonzalez or Cuellar. I think Monica de la Cruz, that was an open seat. Am I right?
Yes, because Vicente moved over to 34 to
Yeah,
for Myra's. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I think the Republican Party just, there's no messaging, and then if you and I know this from experience, they're talking so surface. Nobody has gotten into the neighborhoods to discuss with people what the party is going to do for them different than what is being done by Democrats in places like Hidalgo and Zapata and all these different places all over the place. and it's just lip service, if you ask me. I mean, it
Yeah,
really is.
and that's one of the things that Bianca, and I've been with Bianca on her show and stuff, and that's one of the things that she emphasizes with the True American Project. They go into different states, different communities, and people are not, they don't have the same issues. Like in Arizona, she was saying that one of the communities she was talking to, their biggest problems were chickens running around everywhere. That was their issue. And you have to tackle your area for the
Yeah.
problems and the issues that they have. Myra was running for God, family, and faith, or so, or God, family, and something like that. Faith, God, and family. Country, God,
God, country, country, God, family, something like that. Yeah,
yes, something like
the
that.
triad,
But
right?
what really is your message? What is the problems that your community is facing? What are the issues?
Yeah,
The people needing jobs, the education. We're starting to have more homeless people. And when I ran for city commissioner, I remember that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about, the
yeah.
growing homeless problems that we had. And people were talking about building a dog park. Okay, I was like, I don't see that. But people are not going into the colonias. They're not going into the problems that their communities have. They're just painting it with one brush and that's it. That's what the Republican Party's running on,
Well, everybody's looking at Florida going, oh, DeSantis run the Hispanic vote. And look, uh, not all Hispanics are the same, because
Mm-mm.
that's a Western Hemisphere or Southern Hemisphere Hispanic, like Cubans, Hondurans, and that their cultural and mentality is a little bit different. I always tell folks, in because I literally grew up in all of Latin America in my 22 years being in the Air Force, and what I realize is, for them, they fight socialism in a different
Mm-hmm.
manner. For us, if you go to California, Texas, the Hispanic out here, they want to go work. You see,
Mm-hmm.
they want to get down and take care of family, and go to and be really, they're conservative. They look at you and say, just get the government off my back. I really don't care for it.
They just want to pay
And
their bills. They want to pay their trucks, their houses. That's what they want to put food on the table. That's what our communities is worried about.
yeah, no, I think look, I think and now we look at the Texas state legislation, body politic is going to start, I think, in January. So we're back in session again in Austin. And you look at, now going to the state level, Dade Phelan, who's a Republican, is going to allow Democrats to be a part of the chairmanship positions, when the Republican Party of Texas, and I don't know, you were at the convention, right? At the state convention, you didn't go. All right. So
No, I
one of
just
the
went to our event. I didn't go
yeah,
to the
so
convention.
she went to the party, folks.
Yeah.
I said you go to so
I didn't.
so
I was so turned off by the Republicans. I didn't want to be a delegate. I knew that my GOP wasn't gonna allow me to be one, anyways.
yeah, no, listen, and a lot of folks really feel that way. And look, and for anybody who hears that, the answer is the Republican Party better start hearing that message, because a lot of hardcore Republicans are going to realize they keep voting for what the Republican Party used to be. The Republican Party today is not the Reagan Republican. See, because I always say, we woke up, or let's say we Democrats woke up and realized it's not the Kennedy Democrat Party anymore. It's this Nancy Pelosi socialist communist crap that nobody wants. Well, guess what? This election, a lot of people have awakened and realized, whoa, this is not the Reagan Republican Party. No, it's got guys like Paul Ryan. He's out there. Remember, he's the former Speaker of the House
Yeah.
who begat, I guess now, Kevin McCarthy, who before them was John Boehner. All Bushies, all globalists, all neocons,
Mm-hmm.
and so this is not the Reagan Republican Party either. And you hear a lot of the MAGA, the America First. This is why you get a guy like Frank Lopez running independent, even though he's the most Republican individual in the campaign. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think if the party doesn't get a hold of that, I'm going to make a prediction. If Kevin McCarthy is the next speaker, the Republican Party is going to be responsible for birthing a third party
Yeah.
because we don't have a vehicle in this Republican Party to get things done. Because I ran as an America First candidate in 2020,
Mhm.
and Kevin McCarthy and his minions did everything to put us down. But I wasn't the only one across America. And if you jump on Twitter or all these social medias, folks, what you're going to hear is Kevin McCarthy, Mitch McConnell have worked against America First
Yeah.
candidates. And why?
Laura
Because
Loomer.
they
Hmm.
want to crush Trump. And I don't think that's going to happen. I'm ready. Look, again, forget DeSantis versus Trump. Right now, our number one goal, we got to clean house inside the Republican Party, or folks like Cody and some other friends that we're all starting to wonder what good does it do me to run in the Republican Party? They won't even do what I want them to do. So I have a lot of high hopes for Monica de la Cruz. If you're listening, if somebody send her this part of the clip, do a 180, tell Kevin McCarthy to go pound sand and stand on your own for the people that elected you. And you will be elected over and over and over again because people want to fight her. And that's all. That's it. She would be a heroine down a hero. That's female version, right? So not could have said some other kind of addict or something. No, but she would be a hero down in the valley, in the Rio Grande Valley if she did that. But I think she's bought and paid for. I hope I'm wrong.
I had high hopes for her. I'm not gonna lie. I helped her in 2020. I did the block walk. I did some phone banking, and I tried. But then I started listening to the money that she was after, the donors
Yeah.
that she was after, and I did talk to her. And she's a candidate. It was her campaign. She didn't really want to hear me. So fine. So I kind of took a backseat to it. But after this year at this election cycle, when I saw that endorsement from Kevin McCarthy, that was just like I can't support her. So that was the biggest reason I never supported Monica this year, because of the Kevin McCarthy. But I did talk to a lady the other day here on the show, and she was with the Lexit movement.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I talked to her about was my concern about the Lexit movement. I do have concerns from people leaving the Democrat Party coming into the Republican Party because the Democrat Party doesn't fit them anymore.
Yeah.
But they don't try to change into the Republican Party. They want the Republican Party to change and fit them. And I think that's where we're going into problems with some of these candidates that are voting as Democrats, because they left the Democrat Party, came into the Republican Party, but they still have those bad habits of
Those moderate tendencies is what that
mhm,
is. Well,
of bad habits.
no, that's a
Mhm,
good assessment question, because maybe that's what happens when the Democrat Party as an entity has gone so far left that the people they're leaving behind, they're sort of in this purgatory political, there's
mhm.
nothing there. So they've got to go over to the next best thing, and that's the Republican Party, because the Conservative Party, for all practical purposes, very conservative. They're trying to keep their more Kennedy Democrat values, which by the way, are more conservative than some of our Republicans, elected Republicans today, you see. And so I can understand that. But you're right. You know, I love the Lexit movement, the official organization, Lexit,
Yes, the
established by
official with
Jesse
Jesse
Holguin.
Olguin.
Yeah, so we
Mhm.
separate these, as the organization. Those guys are wonderful, but the Latinos exiting the Democrat Party, it has one problem, because some of these folks are not political per se, but they know enough that they don't want to be a part of the Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer kind of crap that's going on. So they're like,
Mhm.
you know what, I'm just going to go vote Republican. And a lot of people won their elections this time around because they just said, yeah, vote Republican, vote Republican. These people aren't exactly informing themselves. Overwhelmingly, a guy like Tony Gonzalez wins in this kind of an environment. And even though he's a Democrat too, running as a
Yeah,
Republican.
and
And
that's what I mean. Like, I mean, to me, it's like we are running this people or walk away Democrats, not only Latinos, but any type of walk away Democrat, they come into the Republican Party and want to run as a Republican, but
Right.
still vote as a Democrat.
Well, and this is how the party look. I think found fundamentally, if I think this is why a guy like Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell, they don't care about the ideological spectrum. They don't care if Republicans are left or right. They just sort of throw people around on the Democrat Republican basis. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you look at Nancy Pelosi and some of these horrible Democrats, they're the ones that say, just come vote Republican. Well, a lot of us here in Texas, especially after Donald Trump, we're like, wait, you want me to go vote for Liz Cheney? That's not going to happen. And in your case, right, you want me to vote for Abbott? I don't think so. The guy can't secure anything. And I think, look, now that we're post, although I bashed him, I would say I'm bashed him. I would say trying to hold him accountable. A lot of people would say, you're bashing him. We're got to stick together. Look, I think you can hold accountable everybody
Mm-hmm.
regardless. And I think Governor Abbott, uh, if Carrie Lake wins her election and does declare an invasion, I'm telling you, you can forget about Greg Abbott. He blew an opportunity to really take on the federal government. Why he wouldn't do it based on the Constitution is beyond me. He's a lawyer, guys. He's a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. And I know enough to tell you I would never let the federal government do that to the great state of Texas. And this is why I think South Texas, they can't see the difference between Myra and Gonzalez, because she's going to be voting for amnesty anyway. So they might as well keep the guy that has all the keys to the kingdom already, because he's been around a very long time. He has
Mm-hmm.
experience and he has a lot of connections. Henry Cuellar, he had no problems running over Cassie as well.
Yeah.
Now, I say that with a lot of respect because she was one of the better candidates down there. But I want the world to think about something here. Sandra Whitten ran in that race in 2020. Now, nobody came to her help. Nobody. And she did about as good as Cassie did on her own with about $20,000. Now, again, uh, not advocating or defending either one. What I'm saying here is the Republican Party wants to pick and choose its
Mm-hmm.
people, and then you get a guy like Wesley Hunt out in Houston, and already he's gone to the Rhino side. You see, and I think all these people, we're gonna have a problem in 2024, Cody, because when Trump comes back, and I don't see him not coming back. Um, I mean, this is where we're going to highlight all the rhinos across Texas and across the nation because, but the one thing we got to fix, and this is our election process. I mean, what a mess in Arizona. Uh, I'm, I don't know if you saw
Pennsylvania.
yeah, and so everywhere. I mean, didn't
Yeah.
we learn this in 2022? I mean, I'm sorry. I thought we were all fixing it. And this is the problem with the Republican Party. They didn't do a damn thing for 2 years
Mm-hmm.
to help fix this, because guess what? Democrats still control the process, and this is why we got to wait till I think Wednesday to find out if Carrie Lake actually won. By the way, I don't see Abbott saying anything about Carrie Lake. Do you?
No, he hasn't said anything. He hasn't come out and said anything. And you have the person that Carrie Lake is running against. What's her name? Katie Hobbs,
Yeah,
that
Hobbs.
is
Yeah,
controlling the election. She's the one that's in charge of that election.
yeah. She's the
How?
state of Arizona elections administrator, the
Mhm.
overall head honcho. She never recused herself either.
No, and that is a huge conflict of interest. And
Well,
all the Republicans that are there in office, the Kevin McCarthy's and all those, should have come out saying something and fighting against that, and nobody did. So we have Carrie Lake fighting for her, for herself and for her state in that state, and it's ridiculous. But
well,
yeah, I mean,
I,
they
I
didn't
think
do.
there's a few things that if we just didn't fix. Elections are one of them. The immigration is the other one. What happened to build the wall? I mean, ya nadie, nobody. I'm gonna go Spanish. Nadie está hablando de the wall. Build the damn wall for heaven's sakes, because our border patrol. Oh my lord, those poor guys. I love those guys. God bless them for holding the line,
Mhm.
but they have been torn to pieces by this because this is a Joe Biden inflicted wound on the border and all that live here, to include the entire nation, because we're letting all these people in. And but but Abbott could have done something. He still can. So I'm just wondering, come tomorrow. I mean, does what do you think? Is he going to wake up and go, okay, now I'm going to be the governor? I mean, I bet if Kerry wins and she declares an invasion, he's going to jump on board, and Trump will eat him up for it. I think Trump will eat him up for it
Well,
because
I hope he does. And I'm, we talk about holding them accountable, and I am a Trump person, and people get mad when we call out Trump, but he's still he was an elected official, and he's a person that's in politics. But what he did in Texas in endorsing a lot of this candidates, these rhino candidates, was wrong. And what he did in other states, like with Oz, Dr. Oz, Katie Burnett was a whole Kathy Burnett was a better candidate than
she was
Oz.
the MAGA candidate. She was the MAGA
Yes,
candidate.
she was a
Walker,
good candidate.
Herschel Walker. I love Herschel Walker, but because he was a Dallas Cowboy, running back. But I'm hearing he was a horrible candidate and probably not the, you know what I mean? But, he's
Mhm.
big name recognition. But when I look at some of the folks that are writing, you're right. They mentioned Oz was a horrible endorsement, and so was Herschel Walker. A lot of people are trying to blame Trump for this, but I think Trump, more than anybody, was out trying to help as many MAGA candidates as he could. Again, I don't see the Republican Party leader like Kevin
Mm-mm.
McCarthy. He was just throwing money at the rhinos, I think, for the most part. And the problem is, I think they think we're stupid. And in today's world, where like you and me, we're doing a podcast where I don't know how many people are on, but this will surface, and everybody's now on Twitter and Facebook and Getter and all these other places, and people are more awake to what's happening out there. So I really hope, look, I would tell everybody who's listening right now, you got to do two things. One, you got to call your congressman, and if he's a
Mhm.
Republican, tell him, you go tell Kevin McCarthy he's fired. No more. Do not endorse that guy. So we're about to see a big food fight there. But the other one, it's Dade Phelan. Our guy here locally is Andrew Murr, big mustache guy or whatever. We're going to pay him a visit and go, you cannot vote for Dade Phelan. But guess what? Dade Phelan gave him like $50,000 for his campaign. So he's on the hook already, right?
Yeah,
I
most
mean,
of these people are already on the hook, like Monica. I mean, that's why Kevin McCarthy was doing what he was doing. They were investing into their vote. They were investing into the people that are gonna that were gonna keep him. It's like they don't do something for nothing. The
yeah.
Kevin McCarthy, the money that he raises for them is because they have to vote for him.
Well, and I think, look, it's a good strategy. I mean, let me again, from a very planning perspective, Republicans did what they had to. What they know in this party, and even on the Democrat side, is that there's a lot of elder generation people who are just going to vote Republican. They don't
Hmm.
question anything. They don't look for anything. In fact, they would look at someone like you and me and Bianca and some of these other, like even Frank Lopez, and go, "What are you doing? You're supposed to vote. You're supposed to go Republican," and yet it's rigged against the MAGA America First
Hmm.
candidates, which, by the way, 75 million people voted for. So it's not like we're stupid. This is what America needs if it's going to survive uh, a lot of the things that are happening now in the world. Ukraine, the Chinese are all over the place, Cody. I'm more worried than I've ever been. And guess what? We're not doing a whole lot of anything because I think we have incompetent people running the Republican Party. McDaniels, Mitch McConnell, and McCarthy. Now, they're smart in that they're getting rich. They're all smart because they're using the system to get rich. But we, the middle class, are getting crushed by all this illegal
Hmm.
immigration. And it's just not Hispanic, because I could look and I say, well, it's all Hispanic. No, it's all of Texas. Anybody who is middle class, you are crushing the middle class with this illegal alien invasion that's happening on the border. And we got nobody with some cojones to do anything about it. That's what
No,
I think.
nobody. And let's see, like you said, let's see if Abbott does anything, or he's off election mode already. So it's time to sit back and just
It's Christmas
wait
time.
for the next
They're
election.
going on vacation already.
Yeah, wait
Well,
for the next
look,
election.
the legislative session starts around the corner. It's an now. A lot of people don't get involved with the state legislative body, and but I plan on to doing that. I ran for the state senate, so our now new senator is going to be Pete Flores down here, and there's a whole lot of other folks. But Don Buckingham, can't wait to pay her a visit. She sent a big flyer as the land commissioner. I'm going to secure the border. I have no idea how you do that as the land commissioner, but I'm anxious to have a conversation about her and hold her accountable for that as well. So we'll see. No revenge, just we are talking politics and we want things to get done. So
Yeah,
that's it.
and that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to leave the Congress or the governor's seat blank on my ballot. I voted, but I threw away my
You
ballot
didn't trust it.
to
You
the
didn't trust it.
Libertarian. But because if I don't vote, I don't have a say. I didn't vote for you, but you still represent me. I
Right.
voted. So you have to, I'm going to hold you accountable because you're the one that won.
Yeah.
So, and I consciously had to say, okay, I voted. Now I have a voice. I do. I get to complain and I get to call you and I get to tell you, yeah, I didn't vote for you, but you still represent me and you
Yeah.
still work for me.
Hey, that last part is gold because a lot of people just don't want to vote. But
Mhm.
if you do, even if you don't vote for the governor elect or reelected now, but you were a part of the process and now you get to hold them accountable for it. And I don't want to hear anybody texting or calling me or commenting on the comments down there. Oh, you're so anti-Republican. Get the hell out of here. We are more conservative than in our little pinky than in most people's bodies. And we're actually, and Cody and I and a few others, we've been throwing down against the establishment because we want Texas to survive and thrive. And if we can make the rest of America Texas, that would be even better. Although I got to tell you, I'm a little concerned under Abbott. It's looking a lot more blue than I like it. And that's no bueno. It's no good.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we were talking about. Texas is no longer red. Now it's purple under Abbott. The leader that we had was Abbott. We turned from being a true red state to being a purple state. And
Well,
who's the leader of,
if we looked at guys like Karl Rove and all these, Republican, they're all stabbing us in the back and they want the Bush era to control in the future. It's not going to happen.
Mhm.
Trump's around. And I hope he makes that decision on Tuesday. I will tell you what, I'd get behind Donald Trump 100%. You heard it here. Put it out on video. We need that guy to come back here and do one thing when he takes the oath of office and look at the entire DC system and go, you're all fired, all of you,
Yeah.
and just clean house and get some conservatives in there or good people that know how to do their jobs without being ideological. So anyway, there it
Yeah,
is.
that's one of the things we need to. We're almost up to an hour, but we need to hold the elected officials accountable, hold our party accountable. If we're going to continue with this Republican Party. I am an independent, but I still, vote mainly conservative, but we cannot allow the GOP to give us their little puppets, their little mouthpiece candidates. It's either, you know, they have us voting the less of worst evils when they're both evil. If you're getting manipulated by the party, you can't stand up for the people that you represent. So in a way to do that is we need to stop feeding the establishment. We need to stand up not only to the Democrats but to the Republicans as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have told me, you're so divisive, you're not standing, we need to unite. How can we unite if they're pushing us down with their thumb and telling us who to vote for and what to do?
Yeah, the people that tell you that, they're part of the problem. And look, and I had this conversation with a few other folks. I don't think it's culturally Hispanic. I think it's just Texan in me, but in you, because I mean, you just have a coincidence we're Hispanic, but we're fighters. You know what I mean? And you don't have to be Hispanic for that. If you're from Texas, you're going to say exactly what Cody said, and that is, stop pushing me down. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. This is America. We live in Texas and we want it done the right way. And for the longest time, we've not had that. People are getting sick and tired of that. But I think we're headed to the biggest, clash between elitist Republicans and real conservatives. You saw when they booed John Cornyn. I keep saying that at the state convention, and I think it's coming down when Trump announces, I think on Tuesdays, what it looks like. But look, we got to do this in Spanish because how's your Spanish, Cody? You all right with you?
I'm good. I'm good in Spanish. I
He
was like,
talks better Spanish than English. I do too, I think so. because we got to start informing people in Spanish, because a lot of folks are just listening to the Jorge Ramos of this world. And I don't know if you know this, but George Soros bought a lot of the radio stations to the Spanish speaking radio stations.
Mhm.
We got to counter that with, podcasting and our own, Spanish sequence of programs, because, you know, the Spanish speakers are traditionally conservative. They keep voting Democrat because when they can't see the difference between Myra and Gonzalez, they're just going to keep the guy they've known for a long time. I think that's really what's happened here.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, we
we'll
let me
see.
know when we will plan a Spanish podcast and see what, who we can.
She's already nervous.
Oh, look, Elsa
So
Martinez. I voted for you, Mr. Raul Reyes, in 2020.
Thank you. God bless you. By the way, we're going to go visit Mr. Gonzalez at his office, and we're going to ask him, are you going to vote for Kevin McCarthy? By the way, his people listen to these things. So you heard it here. We just need to have a sit down. Bring him on the show. If you're going to vote for Kevin McCarthy, you will be primaried. Guarantee it. It's going to have to happen. And by the way, that's across anybody. Wesley Hunt out in Houston, you're a Republican, you're a conservative, somebody paid your meal, but be your own man and go vote for some new Republican if we're actually going to keep Texas Republican or red or just conservative, period, which is really what we all want. And so, anyway, thank you, Miss Martinez. And if we do it again, be there one more time for us. And
Yeah.
I'm growing a lot of hair. Look, so I got a wave and stuff going in the back. You can probably see it too. So
Oh, thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate it. I wanted to talk to you. I didn't have anybody line up, and Brittany asked me who I want to reach out to the Colonel to Raul Reyes because we need to talk
well, we
about
wanted to do
the.
this post election
Mhm.
thing. So I'm glad we did. Cody, you were right. 2 out of 3. You were 100% correct. Monica, you said was iffy. She got it. Great. Congratulations. Now let's go hold all these people accountable.
Yes, and hopefully she'll do a 180 like you said, and we'll see about that. And if she does, well, I'll change my tune.
En español, dale, Mónica, sácale de una vez. Let's go. So anyway,
With a
all right.
man.
Thanks for having me, Cody. I appreciate it. Okay.
Thank
We'll see you
you.
next time.
Bye bye. It's just fine. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This is Cody with Battle Lines America. I'll see you next week. Thank you to Mr. Raul Reyes and anybody that tuned in. And we are post-election. Go hold them accountable. And we are just waiting, I guess, on Arizona. So let's hope Carrie Lake makes it through and report so she can declare the invasion of the border, and we'll see what Abbott does. So thank you so much. God bless you, and we'll see you soon.